Hey, business building warrior. Today we've got a host that's not me interviewing a couple students from our community who recently went through our proven replentraining.com training. Now, that's the training where if you go to the website, you'll see it described in more detail, but that's the training where we actually come to your hometown, we go shopping with you, we set up your business with you, we get everything rolling, we guarantee that you'll have dozens and dozens of profitable products before we leave town because you'll be working with one of our top end replens experts. So today, Jimmy Smith is interviewing a couple of recent students who went through this program. I love this couple; they're so cool. He is a principal at I think it was a grade school, and she's in law enforcement, and they're looking for some extra income. So they spent 4 intensive days with Carl. He's one of our replens experts who did a great job, and they're telling us how it went, what they learned, what they're doing now. It's a phenomenal offer. But I wanted to do a quick intro before this episode because I wanted to explain the difference between the proven replen training and our coaching. The proven replen training is a little more expensive than coaching. It's intensive. It's for people who say, I'm going to set aside a week of my life and learn this thing with someone who really knows their stuff. Let's plow through all the details right now. You've got the time and the money to invest. It's a phenomenal program. A coaching program, if you go to Jim Cochran Coaching, that's going to be someone who works with you over the long term, regardless of where your business is now. If you're new or if you've been doing it a while, we've got a coach because we have dozens of coaches on our team. We've got a coach that can take you to that next level over the course of several weeks or several months. There when you need them, helping you hit your goals, helping you grow over time. So do you want to cram it into 4 days? A week, an intense week, or do you want to spread it out over several months and work with our team over an extended period of time? That's kind of your options between the two. That's the difference between provenreplentraining.com and our coaching program, Jim Cochran Coaching. We'll have links to both in the show notes for today's episode, but I'm going to turn the microphone over to Jimmy now, who can introduce you to our guests as well. I think you're really going to enjoy this episode. These guys are killing it. They learned a lot very quickly. And if you're ready to go, we've got a team here to help you. Enjoy this episode.
Hey, everybody, this is Jimmy Smith. Welcome to another episode of the Silent Sales Machine Radio podcast. Today, I'm super blessed to bring to you some brand new students of the Virtual Proven Replen Training Program. Their names are Eric and Amanda Henrickson, and they crushed it this past week. They actually finished their training as of today. It was 3 days ago on Friday. We're recording this on a Monday. They finished on Friday. Their shipment hasn't even been checked in yet. And so I wanted to get them onto a podcast so that everyone that's brand new, that are trying to figure out this whole Amazon selling thing, trying to figure out the whole replen thing, so that you could get some fresh perspective of what it's like, what it takes to get started in replens quickly. It starts out a little bit as a testimonial, and that's based on the questions that I was asking. And so I tried to veer it more towards information so that we can help anyone that's brand new and might not be able to or wanting to do coaching to start out the gate. But this was an awesome episode that I'm really excited to bring to you. And so let's go ahead and get right into it with Eric and Amanda Henrickson. Hey, Eric and Amanda, thank you so much for being on the Silent Sales Machine Radio podcast. I really appreciate you being on here.
We are thrilled to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I'm really excited to be talking with you today. You are a student that has freshly finished the Proven Replen Training, the virtual Proven Replen Training. All the links for anybody that wants to find out more about it will be in the description. So if you are interested, go ahead and you can check that out there. But super excited to talk about some fresh students out of it, kind of get a little bit of details of your experience of the training as well as kind of what you learned. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about your background. What got you interested in selling on Amazon, and how did you find out about the replen opportunity?
Yeah, so it kind of started with me a few years ago. I've been selling on eBay for a while and doing all that fun route, and belonged to a couple groups, and I was asking some recommendations for books to read, and somebody mentioned Silent Sales Machine. So I all of a sudden found the link to the Silent Sales Machine book, but then I got and saw the Facebook group, and then I saw about Proven Amazon course. And then actually, I think the very first one I watched was the replen course that you ended up doing.
Okay.
And that's kind of at that point when I approached my wife and I said, this is a pretty cool opportunity. And, what should we do about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Were you on board right away, Amanda, or was it something you're a little bit more hesitant on?
I actually was on board right away.
Awesome.
I'm currently in law enforcement. This is my 19th year.
Wow.
So while it's a good job, we have a lot of community support. Law enforcement is tough. So I really don't want to work another 15 years, I don't think, doing that. So when he came up with this idea, I don't even think I heard the full story. And I said, hey, that sounds good. Let's do that.
Yeah.
So with hopefully the idea that we get me to be able to retire from law enforcement. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you for serving law enforcement. I know it's a tough job. I've had family members, that were in other branches, things like firefighters and police officers. So I know that it's a tough job whenever, and a lot of times with little appreciation. So thank you for doing that for us. But so you said that you were selling on Amazon or on eBay before. And so I assume that you weren't within the normal My Silent Team community. Is that correct? You were just selling on eBay?
Yep, just started up on eBay. And then once I found out about the Proven Amazon course and started taking that, that's when I fell into the Facebook group. Okay. And I was just shocked of, I used to hear horror stories about Amazon and the groups that they had and the chat groups and stuff like this. Well, I got a part of this group and I'm going like, these people are all here to help.
Yeah.
It was so cool to be able to see success stories or I'm frustrated and people offering assistance. And then I started listening to the podcast. And then just hearing the same thing from Jim, which was so exciting. Like, we're here to help. And then when our coach said, we gave your name to possibly be on a podcast, we kind of freaked out about it because it's like, oh my goodness, that was one of our goals. And it's literally happening before our Amazon shipment is even received yet.
That's hilarious. Yeah. I'm excited to bring you on here. We wanted to get somebody brand new that was fresh because, seeing it from your perspective, a lot of the people that listen to the podcast or in the My Silent Team Facebook group, a lot of them haven't started yet. And so having a brand new, fresh perspective is, very important for us to be able to show that to everyone that's interested in selling on Amazon to see how they can really get going in it. And so hopefully we'll have a follow-up episode with you after, a year or so of you doing this to get an update on your success stories and everything. So you mentioned that you had your coach recommend for the podcast. So your coach in this case was Carl Jacoby. He's a dear friend of mine. He's been an awesome coach in the Proven Replen training program. Would you mind just telling us a little bit about your experience with the Replen training program, exactly kind of how that was laid out, and some of the ups and the downs with the program?
So once we kind of decided to go down this route, we made the contacts we needed to do. And then actually the very first, conversation was with you, and to be able to say, which was nice because I like the fact that there was a process, like you guys wanted to make sure that we were a right fit for the program as well, which I appreciated that, because I never thought of that. But then once, we met Carl, we kind of talked about the timeline and what that would look like. And now since we're in COVID, it was an online course done over 4 days. So I'm an elementary principal and we happen to have spring break, and my wife was able to take off a week from her time as well. And we basically set the schedule that we're going to do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesday was used in the middle as a buying day, but Carl walked us through, like, this is exactly what it's going to look like step by step. Any questions along the way, make sure that he had a chance to answer.
Awesome.
Yeah. And my biggest takeaway from it was before we signed up for this, when I agreed to it and said, okay, let's do it. And then he's telling me, well, let's, find some replens. And I'm like, okay, I know what they are now, but how in the world do I find it? So I was really frustrated. And I said, what I need out of this training is to show me how to find them. I don't know how to find them. I don't know what a good replen looks like. And then after Monday, we found, how many did we? Each of us found a ton of them. It was competition for a while. We were sitting next to each other, dueling computers and, all we needed was like a little bell for when we got another one. So that was my biggest takeaway from that is, I knew the process. It's like, well, okay, how do I get those? So awesome. I was really happy. Carl was awesome at that.
Yeah. He's an awesome teacher. And I'm pretty sure that he told me that you had 64 replens total that were found at an 87% ROI average. And so with the program, right, we guarantee over 50% ROI. So it definitely exceeded that. And that's pretty typical results from the replen training program. Sometimes it's a little more, sometimes it's a little bit less. But the main goal is that you can finish doing, or that you can source for replens by the time that we're done with the training. And really those sourcing days are two days virtually. And then the last half of the training is doing the shipment process, which a lot of people, that's a hurdle for them to get over. But, the main goal of the podcast, and I've realized that it's starting to go in kind of a testimonial way, and I didn't mean for that. What would be some of your suggestions for people that are trying to jump in to replens and they don't want to do the proven replen training program? They just want to get going on their own. Do you have some suggestions for how they can find replens and get started?
I think the biggest aha moment, at least for me, came from Carl, and we took the very first. So our homework assignment is to basically take a whole bunch of pictures so we can, view pictures at our local stores. And the very first picture he pulls up, we spent like a half an hour on it. And the whole thing for me that I learned was this idea of going down the rabbit hole, the idea that, okay, here's something here that may be a bundle, but then look further down and saying other Amazon customers may have bought. Certain keywords in the phrase, like this is what a top Amazon seller, this is why it says this. And then all of a sudden you started clicking down the rabbit hole, and one turned into 5 and 6 and 7. And like I said, we were on one picture for a half an hour. And for me, I think the biggest advice that I can give is don't just give up. Like I was one, like, I want to see it on the first page. And if it's not on the first page, I'm done.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't do that. I mean, you have to maybe be on page 2 or 3 or digging down a little bit deeper. And I gave up too quick. Absolutely. That was my number one problem is I would tell people is don't give up too quick.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know that a lot of times in the course, I would talk about how whenever we were actually in the store, I would stand on one side of an aisle for 4 hours, really digging deep and looking into multiple different methods of sourcing for products too. I mean, in the virtual training, you were able to use your computer, but I'm sure you also used your phone at times and did different methods and found different results by doing all of those different methods. So it's really crazy to see the different opportunities that can be found by pushing forward and looking for as many replens as you can in different methods. I know a lot of times people are surprised by how many replens or ASINs that you can find with just the same product. Did you have some of those where it was the same product, but you found 4 or 5 different replen listings from that?
Yep, we did. You got that first page, and then I even last night I found, and I actually stopped just because I was getting tired, but I could actually keep going. I found 3 ASINs on the same product, and then I kind of got distracted and went to another product and found another 2. So I definitely am going to go back. But yeah, I kept going and like, ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. So yeah, my biggest takeaway is that, or I guess my advice would be to do the coaching. I mean, just do the coaching. I mean, it's, even if you only have 1 or 2 takeaways from that, it's going to only make you better. But if you're like myself, or you didn't even know where to start, definitely just get a coach and ask them everything and do what they tell you to do, because they know what they're talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we even talked to Carl about the idea that teach us to fish. I don't give us, I don't want a list. That's the last thing, because that we're going to learn nothing from it. Teach me how to fish to be able to find these replens. And that's what the program was able to do. And that's where I'm not 100% sure if I could have done that completely on my own.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And I know, everyone's got different situations and stuff. So obviously, I actually started with coaching as well, right out the gate back in December 2015 is whenever Brittany and I started with coaching. And so that was a huge, huge thing for us. Now, there was no proven replen training program, but it was regular traditional coaching. And so that was a huge help. But I know a ton of people that start with $100 and they get the proven Amazon course, and they're able to go slowly but surely, and then they grow and scale from there, and then potentially eventually get some coaching to help them grow and scale their business in other ways too. So as far as the shipment process goes, I know for a lot of people that's a huge hurdle. For some people, not as big of one. But what were your thoughts on the shipment process? How did that go? Any suggestions for people that are trying to start in the shipments or start sending in shipments on Amazon?
I think for us, it was even just learning some of the shortcuts. Like, for example, I didn't realize you could use your scanner on Inventory Lab to actually fill some boxes. Like, oh my goodness, this made this process so much easier.
Yeah.
I think we had, the nice thing is all of our things went to 2 locations, which I was surprised. I thought they would have gone to more. And to 1 location, I think we had 7 boxes that weighed over 300 pounds worth of stuff.
Oh, wow.
Which just made me go, oh my goodness gracious. But for us, it was just learning the idea of some of those shortcuts. Inventory Lab, I didn't know a lot about, but being able to get buy lists from my phone and downloading it directly into the computer saved a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And for a lot of, actually for everyone that goes through the replen training, we require people to get Inventory Lab so that we can speed that process up so that it becomes more of a system for you. And in the replens course, I've talked about it, and I know in PAC people talk about Inventory Lab. But once you have the money to invest in a software, that software, Inventory Lab, outside of Keepa, is the most important software, in my opinion, for people to get if they're doing replens, because of the buy list feature, to be able to save them tons of time on doing the shipments, because of the ability to pack boxes the way that Inventory Lab allows. So for those of you that are out there that might be struggling with shipments, or your shipment process is going too slow, Inventory Lab can cut it by at least 25%, if not 50%. And you two were blessed with Carl, who runs a prep center. So you got probably more tips than most people. But yeah, it's an amazing tool to have in your arsenal there. So I guess for anybody that's brand new and they're listening to this podcast, do you have any suggestions for how you would start to look up a replen and a product so that you could find it as a replen? I mean, what is your methodology? What is it that you learned to be able to go to the Amazon search bar on your phone or on the computer? And what would you type in to find a replen?
I guess I would just start taking pictures. What I kind of found is, I'd be at the Walmart, I'm not a Walmart shopper anyway. I'm totally a Target girl. So having to get over that hurdle of looking at Target or at Walmart, but I would look at something and go, I would never buy this. And it turns out to probably be something that it's popular. So that's kind of how the more like weird something is, or something that I've never heard of. Okay. I'll look at that first, because it seems like the most popular stuff there might be, but I wasn't able to find one at least right away. So that's where I started.
Absolutely. And I know for me, a lot of times I'll start in a category area, whether it's sauces or spices or something along those lines. And I'll just start typing the product name. So the name of the company, just start off first and see what pops up underneath it. And then depending what I see, that probably starts my trail a little bit. Once I do that, it's often digging down deeper and just going back into those other listings that say also purchased with, also bought with that. And then for me, the thing that catches my eye are prices that look out of whack. The idea that, was why would this be $14 when I'm pretty sure I can go to Walmart and get this for $3. And those are the ones that pop for me. Those are the ones that make me go, ooh, that catches my eye right away. And I discard a lot of things right away when I see they're selling it for $8. I can get it for $6. Well, I'm not going to make any money. So I'm not going to waste my time on that one right there. But I often just start with a brand name and just go from there.
Okay. Awesome. So you start with the brand name, you see what products pull up just from the suggestions, or do you start with brand name, then you type in the product you're looking at?
Depends on. I've noticed that, and this actually was I understood from all the trainings too. Is depending on whether you're on your computer or your phone or the Amazon seller app or the Amazon buyer app, you're going to get a different result. So I think it just depends on what I'm on. Like if I'm on the computer, it's probably being more specific. Just it's easier for me to type in specifics than it is on my phone. So I might just go from what I see pop up on the phone and go like, what are some suggestions that they're saying first?
Okay. Yeah, no, that's perfect. And everyone's going to have different ways too of sourcing, you can make it as systematic of an approach as possible, but there's so many different routes to get to the same listings. And sometimes there's so many different routes to get to completely different listings. So yeah, I mean, whatever is comfortable for you, starting with the brand name and seeing what products are suggested is an awesome way to go. And starting with a brand name, typing in the product you're looking at is also a great way to go. Really, the gist of finding replens that I've seen with working with so many people that have gone through the course and, with working with students like yourself is just that, you need to start with the brand name and just look at it as if you were trying to find it yourself to buy it, right? If I'm trying to find a certain water bottle, I'm not going to be all keyword specific and look for this Rubbermaid, fancy whatever water bottle. I'm just going to type in Rubbermaid plastic water bottle or Rubbermaid 16-ounce water bottle, whatever that might be. One thing, you alluded to earlier as well, that some of the weird products that you never buy. I still remember, and I mentioned this before in the course and in the Facebook group, but so it's probably saturated now. But I remember walking by a thing of water chestnuts, just a little can. It costs like $1 or 50 cents or something. And I was like, oh man, I've never seen these before. Nobody probably eats these things, but I looked them up anyway. And there were tons of listings for these little cans of water chestnuts. And so it's just something that, like I said, I've mentioned it a bunch of times before, so it might be saturated at this point. But it's crazy the things that you'll find whenever you're just looking at some weird products to you that might be something that somebody in a different state can't get and can't find. And so they'll pay as much money as they can for it. So yeah, I guess, do you have any other advice for people that are interested in getting started on selling on Amazon that you would recommend that they do before they get started?
I was going to say, I think for me, it helped that already doing some of the eBay things and just the idea of e-commerce to begin with, just to get a general idea. Like Amazon was brand new to me. Like I bought on Amazon every day, but just learning just the whole idea of selling on Amazon. That's why I think that even the pack courses was a nice place to start for me, because I knew nothing. So I just needed to get a base there. And once I found out, like, I didn't know what the differences of FBA and FBM. I'd never even heard those terms before. And even just to get a general idea for that helped me understand the process a little bit more. And then the other thing I think was what has surprised me, and you brought up a little bit about your water chestnuts, is that idea of finding things that are maybe more like, we live in the Midwest. So I know there's going to be certain things that are more Midwestern. There was a time where Carl looked at our pictures and goes, I've done this for a long time and I've never seen that product.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, I think it's about 5 of our ASINs.
Yeah. But to be fair, we'd never heard of it either. So
okay.
Yeah. It must be, it was a Nebraska product. So we're in North Dakota. So it's, same thing.
Okay. Yeah. That's what, worked out so well with the in-person trainings, right? Whenever we'd fly around, I'm confident I could drop into any major city and find over 50 replens at over 50% ROI. Cause I could just walk down the aisles and be like, I've never seen that before. I've never seen that before, which to most people that live in that area, it's common. Maybe for you, it wasn't in that specific example, but for most people, that's a common thing. So they skip right over it. So that's why it's so important, as you mentioned earlier, to go slowly, to spend 30 minutes on a little picture that you take, or to spend 4 hours in an aisle looking for products that, you wouldn't even think twice of before you were selling on Amazon, that they sell for 3 times the price on Amazon in a bundle. Recently, I paid $40 for something that has been out of stock in my area for months that costs $2 a bottle. and I paid $40 for 6 of them. And so, it's crazy. And I was happy to do it. Right. I mean, that's just, we're us as sellers are providing a service to customers that are looking for these items, but can't find them anymore, that might be discontinued in their area. So it's pretty cool to see. Not only am I a supporter of people building replens businesses, but I'm also a supporter of the model. So, now that I bought some.
And you actually brought up a great point. You mentioned a very key word that when you talk about searching is whatever product you're looking for and typing the word bundle after it. That was a really, that or variety pack. That's where we did find quite a few of our ASINs were just by adding that little piece and realizing it opened up the door to a lot more other things that we just didn't realize was there.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, whenever you found some of those listings that you said, you could tell by the price that it could be a good one, and you go in there and you click on it, what things were you looking at to make your purchase decision?
So Keepa, obviously everybody, that's the number one thing is looking at Keepa. The one thing that, the other advice too, that I thought was great advice was I was always starting off with sales rank and thinking sales rank was the end all be all, by goodness golly, you have to go by that. But Carl actually talked about saying, sales rank, is important, but it's not the end game. It's this product is selling. Is it selling maybe as fast as what we want it to? No, but there's a good, so basically for us, it was Keepa, and then I use RevSeller. RevSeller was nice to use, made it very easy for us to type in, here's what costs us, here's what our ROI is. That sped up the process quite a bit. But I don't know. I just look at that whole idea of just with RevSeller and Keepa, that did a lot of things for us right there. Those two things.
That's awesome. Yeah. And for us, that's what we use as well. Those are still the basics for us too. And actually, for anybody that doesn't know, there's a discount at provenamazoncourse.com/RevSeller to get it, to get RevSeller for cheaper than you can find it pretty much anywhere else, I believe. So the link will be in the description for that too. But and what Keepa does, just for anybody that might be brand new, if you haven't listened to any other podcasts and this is the first one, Keepa is going to show you the history of that ASIN or that product that you're looking at on Amazon. It'll show you the sales history. It'll show you the pricing history. It'll show you the seller history. And so that allows you to make wise buying decisions, 90% of the time whenever you're looking for replens. Now, did you, in your sourcing for products, did you ever find some that maybe didn't have a rank or were completely out of stock that you were bringing back into stock? Did you find any listings like that?
We had a couple. Actually, that was one of the things that Carl showed us was here's what an out of stock listing looks like. Mm-hmm. Even showed examples of this is one that would be a good one to maybe hop back on. And I think
two of them we found. Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah. And what's cool about those out of stock ones is that you can sign up for alerts to be notified when they're back in stock. So people are getting emails about you sending in a product a lot of times because they couldn't find it anymore on Amazon. And now you're finally bringing back. So I wanted to ask you that. I didn't know if you had found any, but I'm glad that you did, because a lot of people ignore ones that don't have ranks or ignore ones that maybe are out of stock because Keepa's not tracking any more information at that time for it. But it's extremely important for people to look for those products too. Well, I don't have any other questions about the experience or anything that you've learned. Is there anything else that you want to leave the listeners with, or we can just kind of leave it where it's at and we can have an updated podcast hopefully in a year or so whenever your sales are just skyrocketing. But anything else?
I think for advice for people just starting off is take your time, realize that you are not going to have success probably on day one, hour one, and thinking you're going to find all these things. I mean, and have patience. It's really hard to be able to kind of struggle a little bit right up front. But I think what we found was once we gave it a fair shot and was able to, learn a little bit more about the process, the fact that we're now finding replens after the training on our own without any of that guidance, I think that helped out immensely. Mm-hmm. And then I think the other side of the coin would be ask questions. That's the one thing that I still go back to that Facebook group is, the questions are answered. And I see some of the same questions all the time, and people are still just as friendly to answer that question the first time as they are the 10th time. And I think that's encouraging to me, because I don't want to be in a cutthroat type of thing. That's not the business I want to be in. I like the idea that we could actually look at each other's shopping cart and going, oh, that's completely different things in completely different aisles. And that's fine, because the products are everywhere. Doesn't matter what aisle you're in, but I think the biggest thing for me is patience, and just have that patience and time, and the skills will slowly grow.
Awesome. Well, I also wanted to mention too, you said you work in education, right? Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's a huge testament, I feel like, to Carl and, to the process, that this is something that you thought went well too, considering the educational process that's required. So thank you for being on this podcast, for letting us know how your first experience with sending in products went. And I'm excited to see the growth in the future, and getting you back on here at some point, maybe within the next year or so. So
that sounds perfect.
That'd be great.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.
You too. Thank you.